I'm Pastor Ed Rice, Good Samaritan Baptist Church, and I have been retired from the Air Force since '95, and so I spent lots of time in the Air Force. Retired as a captain in the Air Force. I spent 10 years enlisted, and then 10 years as an officer, as an electrical engineer, and I was in research and development, and worked many jobs, but my favorite again was working from Wright-Patterson Air Force Base when we worked on what was called black projects. And so that's a little bit what we wanted to talk about here again, is my time there. And so, and what questions you got there?
So I guess I'm going to first off start by asking you where Area 51 is located.
Area 51 is in the middle of a desert in Nevada, north of Las Vegas. If I remember right, again, I never pinpointed it on a map, and they were carefully guarded it. And so that's where it was. And we, on several of the projects we worked on, I flew into Area 51 on commercial airlines to again just be out there and to work on some of the projects.
And if you're allowed to answer this, what sorts of projects did you work on when you were there?
Okay, when I was at Wright-Patterson, I was weapons integration, and then became systems engineer on several of the programs. The ones that I worked on were again black programs at the time, and they were pretty much stealth, all the stealth programs that were going on. So I worked on the weapons integration on the F-117, and then I worked some of the system engineering on the B-2. And while they were developed, they were again in a black program. So nobody knew exactly what was being developed. Even we only knew what our compartment was concerning the development of these weapon systems.
Is Area 51 open to the public?
It never was when I was there. In fact, it was very guarded, secret. Even the location is where it was. Although most people who wanted to know knew, again, there were satellites overflying the area pretty regular, and so it was known. A lot of it was leaked again to Popular Science. Again, they would leak things. If you have a stealth, let's say we have a very strong stealth capability, what good is that if the enemy doesn't eventually know that we can penetrate all of their radars with a stealth fighter, for example, with the F-117. And so a lot of the things were leaked a little bit at a time, just to let people know that there were things going on there. But the location, again, was probably kept pretty well guarded.
And a lot of people think that there are alien spaceships out there. What sort of aircraft do you think they would be seeing if they were seeing UFOs?
Okay, a lot of the alien stuff, again, let me go ahead and say first that there's no indication of the alien life forms. God created the earth, and He created man in His image, and there's no indication in the Holy Bible that there is any other creation. I know man likes to go off and pretend that aliens came here and started life when they're rebelling against God in the Bible. And so there's a lot of rumors, a lot of talk about aliens and stuff that went on. Let me give you two instances again that lead to that. And one is just the fact that we're working on black programs. Nobody knows these programs exist. Even the developers only know their compartment, little areas of it. And so very few people knew the whole project or the whole program, and even then how it fit into the defense system that we were working on. And so, for example, with the F-117, or with any of the other black programs, if an airplane crashed during testing, notice again that we're not going to come out and say, oh, that was a black Air Force program that crashed an airplane. Instead, they cordon the place off, and they let people ask questions, and they give them this answer that we cannot confirm nor deny. What always comes up was, again, was this a UFO? What was this that crashed? And again, a plausible answer is, again, the fact that we're not going to tell you. And that makes people speculate that that's what happened, was that this is some kind of an alien invasion. This is some kind of an alien instance. And so that rumor was used very effectively, I thought, by the Air Force I mean, they would just not confirm nor deny. The PR section, again, that would handle a lot of the crashes or incidences where a black program might be compromised, they would gladly allow the rumor to spread that this was some alien or secret mission that involved alien life forms. And so that's where a lot of this stuff comes, again, was just a cover story for the Air Force to cover up black programs that did not really exist. The other is, I always like this one because I didn't have too much to do with it, but we did our testing again of the B-2. The B-2, if you take the wings off, the B-2 is a flying saucer. I mean, it's just, it's made again to reflect all radar, the radar absorption. And so they had a bunch of testing to do to find out exactly what the image was, radar image from the B-2. And so they took the wings off and they put it on a pedestal, and then they would overfly it with radar on a pedestal upside down. And then they would look at it from the air as airplanes flew over their radar would light it up, and they would see what kind of reflected image they get from that. And so that's how they did most of their testing. Is they put the test item, this is for radar testing, they put the test item on a pedestal and then they overflew it. Well, some pictures leaked out, and it was kind of interesting that whenever a Russian satellite was flying over Area 51, they would pull all the equipment and put it in a hangar. But they put an IR detector on and they detected the shadow, where the shadow of the image of the test stand was, and they determined that that's a flying saucer. And so later on they did get some pictures, and we were working on a flying saucer. That was a story that was leaked, and again, that just went rampant and went wildfire. That's what people want to believe, and so that's used by the Air Force. Again, was used then. I was there again, I don't know if this was coming up, but I was there in 85 through 89 working on these programs. After that, I went up to Rome and the Rome Air Development Center and was working on very similar black programs there. So the release of information was always that we have flying saucers, and we would never deny or confirm. And so that again just fed those rumors, and the Air Force used those that ability of the public again to just be pursuant after aliens again that came into this world. So it was kind of a comedy. Also, remember I said that you can't, when you have a project, when you have a weapon system that can defeat, for example, we were defeating Russian radar systems. When we have one of those, it's no good if they don't know that we have it. So to deter that, they had to know that we had such a weapon system that we could evade all of their radar systems and overfly and get into their country. And so, again, what they would do is they would leak little pieces of information of that. Very often through popular science. Popular science, I always loved getting that and reading the articles they had on the projects we were working on. And actually, I could find out more about a project sometimes as they began leaking the information than I could when I was compartmented and only know the certain little pieces of it. So it's a very interesting area. Area 51, I don't know all that went on in Area 51. In fact, there's probably not too many that do. It's very compartmented, and the right hand didn't know what the left hand was doing, and everything was kept very compartmented out into little areas. And so we worked radar testing while we were there. We worked some weapon integration. For example, on the F-117, when the doors open, I mean, it's an invisible airplane to radar, but when the weapon doors open, then all of a sudden the signature changed and became visible again. And so there was things like that that took lots of work to go ahead and make the F-117 invisible to radar for the whole time, and that's pretty much all the projects I was working on when I was there in 84 through 89. And so since then, again, all of those became unclassified. The F-117 was deployed and the B-2 was deployed. And in that sense, again, as it became unclassified, eventually even Area 51, there's a couple documentaries on Area 51 and what all goes on there on NPR. I just watched them recently. So it's interesting again, but I just want to cover again the fact that all the stories about aliens, all the stories about the stuff that was going on there, it was pumped up again just to make sure we had a big cover story, and a lot of that just went like wildfire into all kinds of wild speculations.
So you said you were stationed there for 5 years. During that time, did you work on the SR-71s?
Okay, I wasn't actually stationed there. Again, we would fly in whenever we had a test vehicle out there doing tests on it. And so we would fly in and then evaluate test results and look at things. So I was only there for like a week or two at a time. And then I'd go back to my station back at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. We were working through Lockheed again and through Boeing again on several of the black projects. And so most of my time was spent out of Los Angeles or Seattle, Washington. But again, we would TDY there to Area 51, and it was always interesting. I always loved it. First off, I loved being stationed at Las Vegas. I'm not a gambler, never was, but you could eat very cheap at Las Vegas, I found out. So we'd stay there at Las Vegas, and then they would have a private airplane that was a commercial airplane, but it was hired by the Air Force. We'd all board up and we'd fly out to Area 51 with the shutters down and everything quiet, so even we supposedly didn't know where we were going when we went to Area 51. And so the whole thing was shrouded in secrecy, and again, just it was exciting to be part of that, I guess, and to understand how big that thing was, and yet we'd only see our little piece of it.
So when you say you were back and forth to Area 51, what sort of planes were you taking?
Oh, okay. Pretty much all I worked on was the F-117, which is now been all declassified as the F-117 stealth fighter, and the B-2 bomber. I worked some of the system integration enough to go out and watch some of the test results on that. So those are the only two weapon systems I was there for. I was in an office again back at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base that dealt with several black programs, and so I knew that there were other invisible, I guess you could call them, developments in progress, and I could watch again some of the cover stories just get blown out of proportion again with aliens, and so to me it was just interesting how quickly, for two things, again, number one is how quickly the public would presume that there's something going on with aliens, and how quickly that the Air Force would allow that rumor to progress, so that they didn't have to explain what was really going on. I did not work on the SR-71, but again, I was up at Griffiss when it first started flying its transcontinental flights, and so and it was coming in. It's titanium and flying at Mach something, and so as it come in, it would glow all kinds of different colors, and there were hundreds, literally hundreds of UFO calls when the SR-71 was flying around up there, and the same thing happened, you know, and I could go to the hangar and see the thing, so I knew that it had come in, but again, it was all rumored that the Air Force is doing some secret thing with all kinds of UFO side stories coming up, and again, and they would not confirm or deny. Again, they would just leave it go with the public's imagination going wild, and so it was interesting to see that aspect of it as well.
So I guess that about concludes our interview. But just to clarify, a lot of people think when they hear UFO, it just automatically means alien spaceship.
Yeah.
But by definition, it means an unidentified flying object.
UFO, unidentified flying object. And indeed, that's what we were flying around. They were unidentified. Nobody knew what they were. And so that's a good classification. But yeah, it immediately takes people off to thinking that aliens came and that the Air Force had some secret knowledge of the aliens coming to the world. Curious and fun. And so I enjoyed tremendously my time in R&D, again, the stuff that was going on behind the scenes gives you just a good insight again to some of the falsity again of all the other stories that goes on about alien life forms that came and created life here on this earth. That's becoming more and more rampant in our society today, which is curious. God said, in the beginning, God created the world, and he did that just 6,000 years ago. So when we look again at what God said and compare it to, again, what science says, it's no wonder that, again, they're out speculating about all kinds of wild ideas about how we got here, when God's pretty clear and pretty concise and given that information.